Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now Anthony Joshua will have finished his training camp for Kubrat Pulev and he will take him on December 12th. So what are things that maybe could be different from this camp as opposed to his last camp against Andy Ruiz Jr.? Well, the approach to his style will be completely different because he was going in there against a small, stocky, fast fighter like Andy Ruiz who could get on the inside and someone who he needed to keep at range. So his boxing style was going to be different in that fight as opposed to this one. So there will be subtle differences, not a lot, because I think that Anthony Joshua will have kind of changed his style to suit whatever fighter is in front of him, but obviously Anthony Joshua has his own style nonetheless. So in this particular fight, what Kubrat Pulev, his opponent, is going to want to do is to keep him at range. He won't want Anthony Joshua to get on the inside. Pulev will want to fight at mid to long distance, because Pulev doesn't necessarily fight that bad at that mid-range. He is always positioned well to land punches, is Kubrat Pulev. He always manages to maneuver himself around the ring also, so he's in a position to land punches. So you don't want to miss wildly, I don't believe, when you're in there with someone like Pulev, because he's always ready to counter. I noticed that a lot in the Hughie Fury fight, but what he does do is when it gets to close quarters, he doesn't want to work. He would rather tie his opponent up. So that is definitely something that Anthony Joshua will need to be wary of, because AJ does like to work on the inside. Not so much against someone like Andy Ruiz, because that opponent is probably not the best opponent to be trading with on the inside. Kubrat Pulev a bit different. Not as fast, maybe not as powerful, and it definitely doesn't have the short counter shots that Andy Ruiz Jr. has. So Anthony Joshua can trade up on the inside with Pulev, where he couldn't so much with Andy Ruiz Jr. So I think that the training that Anthony Joshua has done during this camp will benefit him greatly going into the Kubrat Pulev fight, purely because I think that he won't be as light as he was in there with Andy Ruiz. I don't think he'll be a lot heavier because he doesn't look that big, to be honest. He looks quite lean still. So I don't think he'll be a lot heavier, but he definitely will be heavier because the thing is, as I said previously, Kubrat Pulev isn't going to want to work on the inside, so therefore what he's going to want to do is to grapple, to hold, to walk Anthony Joshua back. So AJ needs that little bit of added weight, that little bit of strength to be able to be the stronger man in there, because he is the bigger man, he is the stronger man, but if he's too light, then Kubrat Pulev will be able to have his way. So what he needs to do is make his physical advantages count, lean on Pulev, pull him about, make the older man feel the pace in the fight, because Pulev rarely gets tired in fights, and the reason for that is because he fights in stages, in patches, and he doesn't waste punches, so he doesn't expend all that much energy when he's in there. He did in the Klitschko fight, but that was nervous energy more so than anything else. In there with Anthony Joshua, what AJ needs to do is take him to a place he doesn't want to be, like in the Klitschko fight, because Pulev lost control in that fight. He was unable to make adjustments when it mattered most. So you would have to believe the same thing could happen, and Anthony Joshua could do that to him, but he cannot go in there thinking that is going to happen. He needs to make sure that he breaks him down bit by bit. And I think that in this particular fight we can expect to see Anthony Joshua a little bit more explosive than he was in his last fight. Now, his last fight against Ruiz wasn't necessarily a snooze fest. It was an exciting fight because we never knew what was going to happen. We knew that eventually Andy Ruiz would close that distance, and he would land his punches, and the question was, how is Anthony Joshua going to deal with that? So that tension was always there, and AJ at times looked like he wanted to hold his feet and fight, because at the end of the day, he has that in him, he does want to fight. That is probably what cost him in the first Ruiz fight, but the result was more important than at trading up with Ruiz, and he was able to be mature and pull through the fight. Got a 12-round decision victory, which was a good win, and he was landing those hard right hands continuously through the fight, which was very important to keep Ruiz on the outside. Now, with Pulev, it will be completely different because he doesn't need to keep Pulev at range. Pulev will want that, so he's going to want to be getting closer, landing punches on that mid to close range. When he does that, you have to wonder, how is Kubrat Pulev going to stand up to the power of Anthony Joshua? And I think that a very important shot and very important combination for Anthony Joshua will be the uppercut and the hook. And the fact that Kubrat Pulev likes to close that distance very quickly, especially when he gets on the inside, to smother his opponent. He done it against Hughie Fury. He done it also against Derek Chisora. To make all of his physical advantages, his weight, his height, his movement, his abilities, all of them count when he gets close and grapples, pulls his opponent about. He won't necessarily be able to do that with Anthony Joshua, but Joshua being the stronger man, he doesn't really want to be doing that on the inside anyway. I know he can, but he will be expending unnecessary energy, and it's not just that, I think that there's an opportunity there. So when Kubrat Pulev rushes in like that, he's going to be vulnerable to the uppercut, and that is a great shot for Anthony Joshua, so I believe that he could find himself walking on to a big uppercut and hook. And if Anthony Joshua can use his angles, get off to the side, because he does have good footwork. So if he is able to do that, then Pulev will walk straight onto it. Now, in this fight, Anthony Joshua is going to be probably the bigger puncher and probably the one with the better jab and boxing IQ, the more experience as well. So across the board, Anthony Joshua is the better fighter to Kubrat Pulev. No disrespect, it's just what it is. It's true. Anthony Joshua's track record and resume proves he is the better man going into this fight. Does that mean he's definitely going to win? No, of course it doesn't, because all it takes is one punch, one mistake from Anthony Joshua, and it can be all over. So AJ needs to be switched on for this particular fight. He cannot be thinking about Usyk, Tyson Fury, none of that. This is the fight at the moment, and I think that it is going to be a very entertaining fight, purely because I think Anthony Joshua is going to want to get his knockout streak back, because he hasn't knocked anyone out since Alexander Povetkin in 2018. Now, he doesn't necessarily need to be knocking every single opponent out. You can still look good in a 12-round decision victory. I'm not saying that, but I think that Anthony Joshua does like getting the knockout, so he's going to want to do that against Kubrat Pulev, an opponent who he is well capable of and well equipped to get the KO against. But having said that, Kubrat Pulev is coming to win. He's coming confident. He believes that he's going to exploit weaknesses in Anthony Joshua, just as Andy Ruiz Jr. did. The only problem with that idea from Pulev is he doesn't have the same style to bother Anthony Joshua. He has a style to bother Anthony Joshua, or potentially bother him, because he is quite unconventional, very amateurish, bouncy, pawing with the jab, quite unpredictable at times. But I think that he will be worked out by Anthony Joshua. I think Anthony Joshua has proven he can figure out his opponents and find the punches that land at elite level. He has done it on multiple occasions. You have to wonder if Kubrat Pulev is able to do the same thing in that particular instance. When it gets tough in there, is he able to adjust? Anthony Joshua has proven he is able to do that, whereas Kubrat Pulev is yet to do that, so I guess that is something he's going to have to prove if he wants to get anything out of this fight. But my prediction would be Anthony Joshua gets the knockout in the mid-rounds. It's not going to be easy to start with. I think Pulev will show resolve and show his toughness and all of what has got him to this point, but I think that Anthony Joshua will just be too much for him going towards the mid-rounds. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.